Hey guys, welcome to CryptoCoach365. It's day 77 and Michael Tozoni here. If you're wondering where I'm at, you've probably seen the space below before in one of my previous videos. This is actually our basement entertainment room. My spouse likes to collect pinball machines, repair pinball machines and arcades. So that's where I'm at. It's just better lighting here because unfortunately if I look out the window, it's still really stormy hard, so it's pretty dark outside, so I needed extra light. Anyway, today just finishing up all the, well, more like cramming all the stuff I need to do before I head out, because I'll be heading out tonight to my friends and business partners' place for our combined birthday party, and then tomorrow both of us are flying down to Florida for a week to continue work on my plane project. Excuse me. So yeah, just finishing up packing and needed to do this before I left. That plane thing, even though, well, nice thing about it being an entrepreneur is that I can work anywhere. So even though I'll be down there enjoying a hobby, which being in a position I'm at, I can basically take off a week anytime I want to and go and do that kind of stuff. It does still allow me to work remotely as long as I have my laptop or tablet or even a phone. So yeah, nice little convenience. And that the plane is definitely kind of a hobby project. But even though it's going to be corporate owned, I mean it is corporate owned through my corp, because that way again, if you remember, I mentioned it was a corporate with a personal income. You earn money, taxes are taken away, and then you spend it. With the corporate income, you earn money, you spend it, and then whatever's left is taxed. So by moving my plane into a corporation, all of my flights, except for personal flights, which are not going to be very many because most of my travel is business anyway, or at least business related. But basically all of my flights, like gas and engine usage and all that kind of stuff, will be tax deductible, including all the money that I have put into the airplane. So basically, whatever money was spent on buying this airplane and buying the parts for it, once a corporation earns money and gives me that money will be tax deductible up to whatever I am owed for that plane, basically. So lots of weird little tricks to not pay taxes, I guess, and that's well, legally, but that's how the wealthy, successful people do it. We learn about all these tax laws, all about corporate laws, all about accounting laws, and we figure out how to reduce our taxation. But in a way, the reason it's, well, from what I've been told, the reason it's set up this way is because when you are an entrepreneur or a business person, even though you may not be paying a lot in taxes, all the money you're actually spending is still going out to support the economy. So like if I'm an employee and I get paid a salary, I would likely go and spend it on bills, food, important stuff, and then whatever left, I would probably spend it on entertainment or games or movies or some other kind of restaurants or stuff that's not really, doesn't really do much. Or it does, but in small quantities. Whereas if you're a business owner, like for this plane, for example, I'm supporting a whole factory that's helping me provide the space to build it. And when I'm traveling with it, I'll be, I mean, since my business is in real estate, I'm actually working on improving real estate, well, improving houses, improving communities, providing housing for others. So because of that, I am actually putting all that money into the economy. And as a result, I am taxed less because all the work that I do is already out there helping the community that is directly involved with my business. Excuse me, but that kind of goes into the topic that I mentioned last night that I kind of didn't want to get into too much. Mainly is that there's a lot of, well, there's, as JT says, my business coach, there's a lot of room at the top. It's the bottom that's crowded, meaning there's not a lot of us up here in a successful level, I guess. But there's a lot of people who are not up there, who are not here because they never had anybody to tell them or show them how to get up here, or because they don't believe that they cannot get up there. A lot of times it's because they might have excuses that they can't get up there. Like oftentimes I hear people say that, well, I can't do so-and-so because I have kids, or I can't do so-and-so because I'm working so much. And I mean, really it should be that you should be doing so-and-so because you have kids that you want to take care of and leave a legacy for. You should be doing so-and-so because you're working really hard and you don't want to do that for the rest of your life. That should be your motivation, not an excuse. But anyway, the thing that I ran into again last night, but I seem to run into kind of often for whatever reason, is that I'm at a point where I have the opportunity to just hop on a plane, fly down, take a week off anytime I want to, and work on my hobby project, which is a private airplane that is worth as much as many people's houses are. And I can do that while still working on my other businesses, while still making money, and paying for this plane is not something that will put me in any kind of dire straits. So I have the freedom to do what I want. Most of all of those, well, all the people that I mentioned, the other ones, they don't have that, but for whatever reason, a lot of them really are interested in telling me giving me suggestions of what they think I should do, like what I should do with my money, how I should spend my money. And it's like, I am the successful one, they are not. Really, they should be listening to my suggestions, not the other way around. But for whatever reason, people who like to, I guess, it might even flow into the whole other thing that I mentioned earlier, but for whatever reason, I guess people like to think that they're right and they know better. And if somebody has more than they do, then that doesn't really matter to them. I have no idea why. I mentioned my success was following instructions, figuring out how to do, and learning from coaches and other people who have already gone through this path. Part of that is being willing to learn, to listen, to accept that you might be wrong, and learn from others. Instead of believing that you know everything already, you have to be trusting in what other people tell you. Judge it on its own merits, judge it critically, and follow through with it if it makes sense to you. What I see a lot of people doing is, and this actually happens to pretty much almost everybody who's successful, myself included, is that when somebody is successful, they get to that point through learning and being coached and figuring out what to do, and accepting others' advice, while the people who are, as I mentioned, tend to give the advice, they seem to be the ones who want to believe that they are right and everybody else is wrong, and their advice should be the one that is right, even though, like, I'm successful and have all this money and wealth and security and freedom to do what I want, and they are still struggling paycheck to paycheck, and they're telling me what I should do with my money. And this isn't just me. Elon Musk is one of the big ones right now that is going all over Twitter and news and stuff, where there's a lot of people on Twitter telling him what he should do with his money, what he should post, what he should not post, what he should do with his business. And it's like, guy's worth 22 billion. You guys are worth like nothing. So why does he need your advice unless he also wants to be worth nothing? If you even push back, and this actually has started happening, I've noticed it happening a lot, and apparently it's kind of an unspoken agreement among successful people, is that it used to be that they would take, wealthy people were always not liked. I mean, as far as the Bible, going back like 2,000 years, there's something about like it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy person to get into heaven, or some shit like that. But there was that. There was the ingrained kind of biological or rather evolutionary sense that we have, that we grew up with, where when we used to be hunter-gatherers, there would be a party that would go out to hunt. When they would bring back some food, everybody would have to divide equally, because if somebody takes more, then everybody else would get less. And as a result, the pack or the tribe would actually suffer or have issues with possibly starvation if somebody took more than their fair share, because back then the size of the pie was fixed, and that's the way it was for most of our survival as a species and prior species and most of the other species. But capitalism changed all of that, in that when you take more, the other side ends up creating more. So for example, if let's say you need a pair of shoes and you end up wanting to, like, let's say the little town you live in, the shoemaker has 10 pairs of shoes, and you go out and you buy 10 pairs of shoes. What you're doing is you're not depriving the rest of the town of 10 pairs of shoes. You're giving the shoemaker something in exchange of the same value or more value for their shoes, probably more value because a shoemaker would make it. And as a result, you have the shoes. The shoemaker now has more value compensated for the shoes and can make more than 10 pairs of shoes. So in the end, once he is done, as opposed to you depriving everybody of shoes, the town now has your 10 shoes plus another 20 or 10 or another 11 or 12 or however many that the shoemaker was able to make. So in other words, as we as consumers go and consume, that actually motivates the producers to actually produce more, and vice versa. As we produce more, I guess we as manufacturers produce more, it makes it easier for consumers to be able to take the surplus, I guess, and be able to afford and have stuff that they were not able to do before. So it kind of goes both ways. But anyway, basically capitalism turned it on its side to where the size of the pie is not fixed anymore. By consuming and by producing, we're actually continuing to grow the pie. So when somebody like myself or Elon Musk or anybody else, I'm just using Elon Musk because he's the one who's been in the news lately, but this has been going on with Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, even Steve Jobs, and a whole bunch of others. Like anybody who makes a lot of money, like Carnegie and all of the other ones in the past, Ford, anybody who makes a lot of money are very often attacked for taking it from others, when in effect what they've been doing is kind of creating things themselves and having being compensated for that creation, and in a sense they were actually growing their own piece of the pie as opposed to taking other people's piece of the pie, and as a result making the pie itself bigger for everybody. But because we have that the old philosophy, if you want to call it, and then there was Marxism and currently socialism, and that ingrained biological evolutionary sense that I mentioned, everybody believes that anybody who has a lot of wealth or success, even if they don't think it consciously, I guess subconsciously, they think that the reason they did that is because they deprived others of that stuff. So they tend to really like to tell other people like suggestions on what they should do with their money, how they should spend it, where it's supposed to go. And this also a lot of times applies to charity as well. And that's actually what the argument or the discussion, whatever it was, that somebody tried to start with me yesterday, was that I came from a really poor family. We did not have much, and I started out when I moved out on my own. I did not have like almost anything at all. But so I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck or even dollar to dollar. I know what it's like to struggle for food, for being able to pay bills. Excuse me. But like I understand how that works. I understand how much money would help. But at the same time, I also went from there to where I am right now. So I understand. I've had the broke person mentality, and I switched to the wealthy, successful mentality. So I actually understand what the differences are. And I remember all the mistakes that I was doing, just like everybody else, a long time ago, back when I was broke, including when I would get any kind of bit of money, I never thought about investing. I never thought about like saving for retirement. The whole 401k thing that my corporation, McDonald's at the time, provided. Yeah, I was a McDonald's Corp IT manager, not like McDonald's burgers. But anyway, the 401k that they were provided was like this foreign concept to me, that like this money goes into this thing that the corporation holds, and I don't really know what the heck that is. So I think I did the minimums, but I never really bothered with it. And any money I did receive, I would spend on, on hobbies, on video games, on movies, on restaurants, just mostly hobbies. Not quite that, but similar. And I never saved, I never invested. And any kind of money I got extra would not really help in my situation, because as soon as that money came in, it would just flow right out. So the thing that really changed me, like my path, was like really focusing on my own money and my investments and growing my own assets. Later on, I started doing the more advanced stuff that I'm doing right now, like the corporate stuff and the more advanced investments. But at the very least, I had that, like, I understand, not because like I read about it, but because I've actually done it. And a lot of my friends at the time, who are still my friends / acquaintances, they're still kind of in that kind of a mindset. So it's like from my personal experience and knowing the people who do this and seeing a lot of other people since then, I understand that main difference between the lowest, like the most broke people, and middle and the most wealthy is not their level of effort, not even their level of intellect, excuse me, and not always their background either. Background only affects it in one way, and I'll explain in a sec. But really, the main difference is how they understand money and how they manage money. Their financial education. The background, really, the only difference. I'm sure there are many, but the biggest difference that a background makes for a person growing up, it's not that you grow up in a wealthy family and you have money and thus you will always have money all your life. It's actually like if you grow up with a wealthy family and they just dump you a bunch of money and that's it, you'll probably end up just as broke as everybody else. The only reason the main reason a background affects and makes a big effect on how you grow up is because wealthy families themselves understand money, they understand business, and they understand investing, and they teach that to their children. So if you want your kids to grow up, if you have kids, if you want them to grow up wealthy, you don't have to provide them with a wealthy background. You don't have to give them like $1 million inheritance. All you have to do is teach them the stuff that the wealthy parents teach their own kids. It's the same stuff that I learned on my own through books and other well, yeah, I did have kind of a coach back then, but mostly books, but stuff that I learned on my own, unfortunately, much later in life. That's why I am where I am. It's not because I inherited any money. Like I said, I came from like almost, I was totally broke at some point almost. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it, but yeah, so we learn, we go up, we know the difference between the rich and the poor, I guess, and that difference is how well you manage money. What that also means, unfortunately, is that if you were to, like, the broke mentality, and this is kind of ironic, they accuse the rich of always focusing on money. Like, you're always after money, it's all you care about is money. When it's actually the opposite that's true, because as I've mentioned many times before, from my experience and from my experience with others of my friends and acquaintances who have also become wealthy, the way you become rich is not really focusing on money. It's you have to focus on solving problems for as many people as you possibly can. Like, people need a smartphone, people need a cheap burger, people need access to cheap groceries or goods, people need things delivered, people need to get from point A to B to point B. you focus on solving that problem. If you do it for one person, you will earn a little bit. If you focus and figure out how to do it for millions of people, that's when you will be able to become a millionaire. So your main focus is not money. Your main focus is literally helping people, and money comes as a side effect to kind of prove, I guess, or give you a reward that you are actually helping people. While those who are broke, they are actually the ones who are focusing on the money, because to them money is the most important thing. So they talk about like money is not the most like, don't focus on money. The root of money, love for money is all evil. Money doesn't buy happiness. I mean, that's like broke people say that, because I'm pretty happy with my money. Like I remember what it used to be like, and honestly, I am much happier right now than what I would have been if I did not have all this freedom that I have right now. Because it's not just happiness, it's just no stress. Like, I'm not afraid, I'm not worried about bills, I'm not worried about where am I gonna get my next meal. So yeah, money does buy happiness, sorry to tell you. But while the broke people say this kind of stuff, they at the same time are really, really focused on money. They're focused not just on their own money, they're also focused on money from a charity point of view. And that discussion that I mentioned I had, that was the main kind of crux of the argument there, is that I have wealth, pretty high net worth. It's part liquid, part, well, basically, wealth is like a machine that you need to actually know how to maintain, because if you just have a lot of money dumped on you and you do not know how to run that machine, you will lose it. If you want some proof, just Google lottery curse. People who end up with millions of dollars don't know how to, like, just randomly, and don't know what to do with them. A lot of times end up broke, including people who inherited millions of dollars and then don't know what to do with it. So money is like a machine. So as I run this machine, I'm using it to contribute to the economy. I am providing housing, I am providing services, I'm providing software, I'm providing like helping businesses grow that in turn help other people. And I am paying a whole lot of salaries to a whole lot of people. Like, seriously, I probably spend about like $20,000 to $30,000 a month on other people, and that's other people are earning about $30,000 worth of salaries to be able to buy their own food, their own stuff, their own whatever they need, hopefully their own investments, that I am paying for personally. So I'm not just giving the money away, I am actually paying for services to allow those people to receive these things and grow themselves, in exchange for them actually doing something good for me and for the rest of the economy. Because like, when they fix a house that I own, they're not doing a favor for me, they're fixing a house that somebody else will live in. Obviously I want to make sure that the house will be in good condition, and I want to get paid for it eventually, so I can actually keep doing that and growing that, so I kind of motivate that improvement of housing as I go along. But anyway, I'm not giving out the money, but I am supporting people. Also, I want to, one way that I do, well, I used to, I kind of still do give out money to charity just directly, but I try to avoid that because, as I mentioned, as I learned, and personally and through others, when you don't know how to handle money, like the guy was telling me, like, I should give my money away because I have so much of it. I need to, like, find people who are in dire needs and give them a couple of $100s every month. While that sounds wonderful to somebody who is broke and trying to teach me stuff that, like, you know, how to be a broke person, unfortunately, from my actual experiences, I've learned a lesson many times that if you give just money directly to somebody who does not know how to manage money, you will very likely make things worse. And this might sound horrible to people, like, oh my God, giving money to poor people will make it worse. Well, here's the thing. When you give them money, first of all, they don't know how to manage it. So in the worst case, all that'll happen is this money will just get blown away on stuff that they don't actually need, instead of improving their situation. And this actually happened, like, many times throughout my life, where somebody was in dire need. They needed to, like, they were wondering whether they'd be able to buy bills and food and other stuff, and I gave them money. Actually, like a little more of $1,000, to kind of help stretch it out so they'll be able to afford to continue for a couple of more months. Next thing I know, they ran out of money because like a dishwasher broke, something else was, or like not working right. They needed something else that was kind of a luxury entertainment item, like a TV when you was like maybe needed a new TV or something like that. And like all of this stuff is, if your priorities are you don't have enough food to survive and you're worried about bills, you really should be putting this money aside to make sure you can actually, continue to get food and pay bills. But unfortunately, people in a broke mindset, they do not have, they're broke because they don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how to control it. They have impulsive spending habits. So if you give them that money, in worst case, what will happen is they'll just blow it in crap, and then they're right back to where they used to be. So like, you could have washed your dishes by hand. You could have used your laptop to watch TV, or I have the laptop, but surprisingly, you can get a laptop now. But you can use other means. But yeah, you could kind of get around it instead of improve your situation until your situation is better, and then get those things. Like deny gratification until you're actually able to afford that gratification, like what I'm doing with my plane. But they just blow it. The other scenario that could happen, and I don't know if this is better or might actually even be worse than that one, is that if you give them consistently, they may end up depending on that money. So like if you give them $100 and they use that to offset something, and then maybe they even get used to spending on some sort of luxuries, like opening up a subscription to some entertainment or whatever. And then when you stop paying, like you pay a little bit, you stop paying, and suddenly they are down $100 that they were depending on. So they're effectively were depending on you, built their life around this dependence, and now you cut them off and they got into a new habit, and now they kind of screwed themselves. And the last one is that I believe in people. I think people are generally good, and I think people can achieve things on their own in general. Yeah, a lot of people give themselves excuses for why they shouldn't, but I still believe that people can. And when you simply give them things, you deny them that opportunity to do that. So I actually see simply supporting somebody constantly over and over as kind of stealing somebody's dignity and being able to prove to themselves that they can succeed on their own. So instead, what I do and what I explained that I do was that I much prefer to help people through my business. I help people through my services, but the main thing, and this is rare, but hopefully I've tried it actually a couple of times, and I'll keep doing that. I prefer to coach people. I prefer to give people opportunities where I can show them how to do things. I can show them how to invest. I can show them how to run a business. I can show them how to manage their money. I can show them how to restructure their bills, how to save money on paying bills, how to save money in general, how to grow their income, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what I do. I like to coach people how to be successful, like how I did it and how my coaches have done it and how my friends have done it and how my coaches are teaching me how, with a higher level now, how to do that. And the reason is because if I show them how to do that, they do that themselves, and then they can do that themselves forever. Basically, it's like give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. That's kind of what I'm doing. I would much prefer spending my money and resources to donate to others, to show them how to be successful and be independent. Whereas this broke person mentality that I mentioned, and he's not the only one. There's I get this stuff constantly. in their view, they believe that the best way to help is to simply give money, and that's what they keep. That's what I hear from people a lot of times, and when I tell them that's what I just explained to you, maybe it made you angry as well, but that's what basically they end up. They just end up being angry with me, thinking like, oh, I don't care about poor people, right? How many people have they helped compared to how many I've helped? But yeah, and this kind of a mentality, I'm noticing it's like with the recent Elon Musk fiasco, reminded me of that too. That Elon, he was asked by somebody to help with the mine situation, so he put his engineers on it. He didn't have to spend his own money. He wanted to help. Like, I truly believe he genuinely wanted to try to help. He came up with an idea. The only thing that happened was that his idea, by the time it was ready, the kids were already rescued. So basically he was too late. It wasn't a waste, because this mini submarine that he created, it actually ended up going to the Thai Navy, and then later on will be going to the British diving team, who will be using this as a tool, a practice tool to save people in the future. And chances are there will be many of these kind of submarines made later, just in case somebody gets trapped in this kind of a situation, so people can be extricated. So he came up with something new to help people, because he wanted to help people. But instead of being like, well, thank you, and I mean, you know what you're doing, you're successful, it's your money first and foremost, a whole like thousands of people just kind of turned against him, going like, oh, you're doing this for a PR stunt, you don't know what you're doing. Some guy even said like, well, I have an engineering background, and I can tell you that this thing is never going to work. Like, as if Elon does not have engineers in his own factory. And sorry about that. So yeah, kind of going long here, but yeah, that's basically what's been my kind of frustration. And I would say yesterday, but really it's kind of part of being in a position that I am, which is in a position where I can actually do things, and I have wealth, and people might know I have wealth, in that you learn things that are very contrary to what the broke person mentality could be. And as a result, you know how to do things right. The proof of that is because you yourself succeeded, and you're yourself the proof of what is the right thing to do. But broke people keep trying to tell everybody how to basically keep trying to spread their broke people mentality, including to the successful people, and then they get extremely angry if successful people shut them down by telling them that, no, you're wrong about this, it's actually so and so. Because, like, as I said, broke people think that they know how things are supposed to be done, but like in reality they're still broke, and the successful people are the ones who actually figured out how it's supposed to be done. So anyway, yeah, that's my kind of gripe. Sorry if this video was kind of too long, but just wanted to let you know, that's kind of my experience, my philosophy, part of what it takes to become successful. And yeah, that's it. So anyway, I'm gonna finish packing up, head out to my party, and then fly out tomorrow and enjoy the rest of my week. And I will still record these things every day because it's CryptoCoach365, which means 365 days a year. Hopefully I'll have lots of pictures and videos of progress as I'm down there. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. So I'm sure people may want to comment on this, so if yes, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments. And also, the YouTube videos come out before these things get posted on my blog, because it takes a little extra work to actually move everything over. So if you want to keep up with updates when they actually get posted, I would really suggest subscribing to this YouTube video. But my blog will likely have other stuff on there too eventually. It's actually still under development. I'm kind of waiting for JT Fox's marketing team to finish doing whatever they're doing. But for now, YouTube is probably the best way to keep up. So yeah, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.